Yo, what's up guys? So today we're going to be showcasing off the new Master Rule Synchro deck. This is going to be focusing in on the Red Nova archetype. Now we just got recent new support, so we're going to be showcasing that off as well over here. But basically the new support is actually pretty insane. We have Scrap Iron Signal that has the effect of the once per turn you get to go ahead and negate something, and then you get to reset it as long as you happen to control a Synchro monster that requires a Synchro monster as material. So basically this card can be used every single time once per turn because it resets itself. Plus, of course, with Solemn, you're able to, of course, go first, set up this and Solemn, and then if you happen to have the red Supernova Dragon, unless they have Super Poly, there's very little ways where I would say that they're able to overcome this, or like a Kaiju. This card, once it comes out, you basically win unless your opponent gets rid of it ASAP, because it comes out at usually about 5,000 plus attack. And then on top of that, when your opponent activates anything as a quick effect, you can just banish this card and all cards your opponent controls. But we got a lot of different duels to go ahead and show off, and some of them are going to be absolutely insane because of the new Master Rule. We are not locked to, of course, making those Link monster plays here. There's a good variety here to kind of show you guys other moves that you can kind of pull off in this deck, because the goal is to basically make 2 boss monsters. The ideal goal is to go ahead and make as many of these as possible, but usually you can't go ahead and make 2 of them in one turn. You will have to kind of wait. But your ideal goal, and what I would say is a little bit more reliable to go ahead and make, is to make a red Supernova Dragon to follow it up with a hot red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, which basically comes down to this card will be able to negate one thing, and then this card will be able to just banish everything that your opponent has, which is quite great. Now there are 2 different gameplays that you guys will see, and I also want to talk about Red Rain here, because this is a really good card too, because this card basically has almost the same effect as this card. Again, it might be one of those win hardware cards, but I'll talk a little bit about it, of course, when the gameplay here goes off. But I guess the archetype is basically a deck that wants to go first, just like I would say majority of Synchro decks, because dealing with an opponent's board is not very easy. And while Scrap Iron Signal can be used multiple times to show it off, of course, with the archetype, it's quite great. But I think that overall impermanence would be much better, because when you're trying to deal with a board that your opponent makes, it's going to be much easier, of course, to just have that impermanence, because even if you were to go first and have impermanence, that's pretty much a game anyways. But again, it's to show off the new support here. But nonetheless, the other guy goes ahead and makes a Utopia, so rip the red Supernova Dragon. But at the end of the day, if your opponent has to invest in to go ahead and make a Utopia play, and obviously he's not going to be able to go for that, because at that point he would just banish all the cards. He just went ahead and rushed to make that card because there's no effects in that aspect being activated. But nonetheless, you guys can see, even though he lost the Super Boss monster, we're able to come back with double Synchros, of course, with that new ruling for Master Rule 2020. I wish they would just say Master Rule 5 or something, because it just takes too long to say Master Rule 2020, and we're not even done with this yet. So anyways, next up, Lord of Darkness is quite great in the deck, and then I want to show you guys some of the other plays that you can make in this deck, because Stygian Street Patrol is a fantastic card. And on top of that, this card with the Crimson Resonator, just to be able to go bam, double monsters. You can see we have the hot red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, but that's going to go ahead and make the hot red Dragon Archfiend Bane over here, and then he's going to be able to heal up for a bunch of life points, and then end off with hot red Dragon Archfiend Abyss as well as Bane. So Bane over here makes it so you can tribute 1 monster to hard red Dragon Archfiend monster graveyard and special summon it, but when it inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you just special summon 2 tuners with the same level, 1 from your deck and 1 from your graveyard in defense. So it basically sets you up for next turn, although in this instance his opponent got around it. But with this card just having that extra 200 attack, it's actually a pretty big deal. Nonetheless, he's going to go ahead and banish this card from the graveyard and just re-go back for the combo. So turn 1, sometimes, again, if you can't just go ahead and banish all their cards, there's just a lot of variety in the gameplay that we're here to show off, so you guys can kind of try the deck out yourself and see how good it is. But I'd say it is definitely a deck that wants to go first, but I will talk about things that will make it better going second, because I really think that this deck has a lot of potential if you can go ahead and make double of the banish everything. And again, some of the other support is more so just winning harder. I mean, look at this. We've got the Scar Red Dragon Archfiend. I thought this card was really good, where it's able to go ahead and destroy as many special summon effect monsters on the field and go ahead and burn them for a bunch of damage. And this card can still attack the same turn. It's crazy how far Yugioh has actually gone here. But this replay is really good. So again, this is all in the new Master Rule 5. 5 or Master Rule 2020, whatever you guys want to call it. I see lots of YouTubers calling it Master Rule 5. Technically, it's 2020, but I'm just going to call it 2020 until they officially announce Master Rule 5, because there probably will be some new type of monster or something coming out into the game. We'll have to wait and see what the heck that is also, but nonetheless, the Pot of Desires is quite great in the deck, because after you go ahead and make your play, I mean, you can go ahead and draw and just go ahead and try to make something else. And I think that if you can follow up after this with any other card, like Solemn could be great. I just think Impermanence is probably your best and go-to card, and Called could be great as well, so you can go ahead and stop your opponent from going off, and then on top of that, it can kind of disrupt them, and then you still happen to have this card to go ahead and banish everything. Because remember, this card, it doesn't come back until your next end phase, so sometimes you do have to wait to be able to actually finish off your opponent, but most of the time, because you can banish every single card that your opponent controls, I feel like that effect just in itself is way too OP. The guy ends up using Reborn to trying to bring back the Dark Resonator, so it would not be destroyed, so he can go ahead and stall, but it wasn't going to be happening, not against this deck over here. We have the Bane over here as well as Abyss. This card is quite great. Just go ahead and bring back another card over here. And then once it inflicts battle damage, you already know what's going to be happening. And then on top of that, the disrespect, going for the Red Nova Dragon, the card that no one really uses over here. And he's going to go ahead and attack with that. No effect required over here, but this card's kind of nice. It just gains extra bonus damage, just like the other card, but it's a lot easier to get out. But then when an opponent monster declares an attack, you can target the attacking monster and just banish that card. And then if you do negate the attack, and then in your next end phase, you can just special summon this card banished by this effect. That's pretty cool. But it doesn't banish their card. It banishes itself, just as a heads up, but it does kind of return. It's really just not that great of a card, I would say, compared to, of course, the newer card. But anyways, let's go ahead and check out the last two plays, and I'll give you guys a deck profile in case you guys do want to go ahead and play it out. There's a lot of decks that are actually going to be super broken with this new Master Rule, because, again, it allows you to go for double cards, where normally you would have to make something else and kind of wait, where it really just comes down to being able to make the Super Boss Monster plus one extra negation, which is usually going to be the hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, which you can see now in this instance we have the Abyss, which is like the go-to card. I'm not sure if I would consider this like the most optimal play to make these, but it is cool to see all of these up on the board, because, well, at the end of the day, this is just one negation plus two relatively strong monsters, but he's going to go ahead and Reborn, make the Speeder, activate that effect, and go ahead go for the special Ash Blossom. We got the Flourish Synchron coming out. He goes for Charge Warrior. He's going to draw a card and then go ahead and activate that effect. Go for the tuning. If only he had that quick draw. He goes ahead and makes this, but he forgot that his opponent had Return of the Dragon Lords. I thought that was a pretty cool surprise over there. He was thinking he was going to be able to pop everything, but it wasn't happening today. I'm surprised people still play this card, but a lot of people are probably interested in playing Synchros. And well, I want to say that, you know, Quasar's a really cool card, and don't get me wrong, I love that card, but at the end of the day, Quasar's just not that viable in 2019. When you compare the Quasar's effect to negate 1, with the potential to obviously have a decent amount of attack, the other card just outclasses it 100% when you can just straight up banish all cards your opponent controls. Like, it's just so much better. But I will give you guys a Quasar deck eventually. Again, I like the new Master Rule changes, because that actually opens up the doors for a lot of crazy draws. I also know that there's the Deep Sea Diva one card FTK, which is super consistent to pull off with, of course, the new support, which is just banish one water monster, add Deep Sea Diva, which is super consistent. But I know some people really like this. Is the optimal play, though. Again, this is what the new format, or I should say format, new Master Rule allows. It's this card plus this, because a lot of times you would end up with this, and then if you play the control variant, because I have two different deck profiles for you guys today with this archetype. There's two builds. One of them is more focused in on going first and then setting up with a bunch of negates. The other one is kind of set it up to go ahead and make more potential to go ahead and make the hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. So let's go ahead and go over the deck profile that you guys have seen some of the gameplay here. So there are, like I said, are two different versions. One is control. This is utilizing Red Rain, which it basically is the same effect. If you control level 8 or higher Synchro monster, you get to banish as many monsters on the field as possible, except for the monster with the highest level, which is obviously going to go ahead and be this, because it's very rare that your opponent will go ahead and make it a level 12 monster, so you can just go ahead and just banish everything that they have. And it doesn't banish all cards, it's just all the monsters that they have. And then if a Dark Dragon Synchro monster is synchro summoned to your field while this card's in your graveyard, you get to add this card back to your hand. Again, it's pretty much a win harder card. At the end of the day, Solemn is great too, being able to go ahead and just negate anything, and then on top of that you have Scrap Iron Signal to go ahead and negate that monster's effect and then reset this card. But at the end of the day, I think Impermanence would be just overall better, more consistent, but this is of course the new support, so we're here to show it off. And again, this card, you know, I'll probably make a separate video on how to go and play the new Master Rules, because that was a question that I had asked, but I'll do that very soon. I'll make that a separate video, so then I'll have to sit through this one, but basically just add this card. Anyways, with the other new support, we have Command Resonator. So this lets you discard a Resonator monster to add a level 4 or lower fiend monster from your deck to your hand, which can be great with the Street Patrol as well. But Red Familiar over here just lets you tribute a monster to target a Dark Dragon Synchro monster and then special summon it. This card is great as well, and then you get declared a level, and then it becomes that level until the end of the turn. So it really lets you go into a lot of the more obscure cards, and it actually has a lot of utility to just go ahead and go when you're going. First, you make that play, and then the follow-up play, you go for Red Familiar, and then that way you have like these double monsters. If you played like the Garunix build, you're able to basically kind of see the same concept: is use one to banish, and then it comes back, and then you banish the other one and it comes back later down the line. But the best card over here is definitely Crimson Raiders. This is Resonator. This is the new card that lets you, if you control the monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if the only other monster you control is exactly one Dark Dragon Synchro monster, you can special summon another up to 2 Resonator monsters from your hand or deck except for itself. Really great stuff. It does lock you to a Dark Dragon Synchro monsters, but when you're only playing them, well, it makes things quite easy. But as far as the differences with this, again, it really just comes down to the back row, but I would really recommend Impermanence over all of these. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile over here. So this one actually is running a card that I didn't get to talk about, but this is the Wandering King Wildwind. So if you control a tuner monster with 1500 or less attack, you get to special summon this card from your hand, and if you attempt this, you can't special summon monsters from the extract except for Synchro monsters, so there's really no downside here. But during the main phase that this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from the graveyard to add 1 Fiend Tuner with 1500 or less attack from your deck. So this card is absolutely amazing for the archetype. Plus, it's another dark, so you know, it's got a lot of darkness in it as well. But anyways, we got 3 of those, and then we got 3 copies of Red Sprinter. A lot of these are just like special summon spam cards. So we have 3 copies of this. Actually, this card you can read the effect. I know some of these card effects are so logged that like my face kind of blocks them. But we're running 3 copies of Red Sprinter, 3 copies of Street Patrol, 2 copies of the Red Familiar, 3 copies of Dark Resonator, 3 copies of Crimson Resonator, 3 copies of the Red Resonator, 1 copy of the Chain Resonator, 1 copy of the Synchron Resonator, and yeah, I'm just going to go over the effects that if their effects are too long, you can't read. So this one makes it so if a Synchro monster is on the field, you can special summon it, and then you can only special summon one of them per turn that way. And then once per turn, if this card is from the field of the graveyard, you target a Resonator monster and add it back to your hand. So if you use this card like early on, you can go for it later down the line, and then go ahead and get the effect if you didn't already. Then we have 2 copies of the, 3 copies of the Synchro Resonator, 1 copy of the Red Nova. So this makes it so if a level 8 or higher dragon type Synchro monster is on the field, you can just special summon it, and then you can only special summon one of them this way. But if this card is sent to the graveyard for someone that uses 2 or more tuner monsters, you special summon a Fire Fiend monster from your deck in a defense position, which guess what that is. Then we have 3 copies of Lure, 3 copies of the Return of the Dragon Lords. Again, this really helps out with the new Master Rule. And then 3 copies of Resonator Call, 2 copies of Desires, 1 Reborn. This card isn't really a card in the deck. And then we have 3 copies of Command Resonator, and then 1 Red Rain. Again, I feel like this is a win harder card. I would really recommend just playing Impermanence over it. And then for the differences, it's pretty much the same thing, although even in this build, I would really recommend just playing this because it's a very combo heavy deck. Even though you could technically play around like a 1-hand trap, playing against 2 is just not that easy. So this card, I really recommend this and Impermanence for both builds, but it's just, again, the back row lineup here. And then we're also dropping the numbers on the Red Sprinter over here. And it's not playing Street Patrol. Street Patrol, again, lets you go ahead and make the double bosses, which usually comes down to this and this turn 1. And you can maybe make another one if you open up really insane with like this, Reborn off of a Desires, but for the most part, that's kind of what I would consider really lucky to go ahead and pull off. But anyways, that's it for the deck profile as well as the gameplay. And shout out to my boy AzneyesWhitedragon for hooking us up with this play. He's always building crazy stuff, so I'll link him down below. Definitely check him out, guys. He's always making spicy stuff with synchros, and I love synchros. They're definitely my favorite. But at the same time, I feel like this one's not too broken with the FTKs, but I will give you guys more broken FTKs very soon with this new Master Rule 2020. But because this just got some new support, and on top of that, we got the new Master Rule, this is going to be a deck that I think a lot of people will be interested in at least trying out, at least for people that are fans of the anime and the Red Dragon Archfiend lineup, because these cards are really good. I mean, just straight up, it comes out at 5k attack, banish everything. It's good, man. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. If you are new here, hit subscribe, turn on that bell so you don't miss out when we upload the new Synchro variant of Quasar, because I definitely want to show that off. And if you guys want to send me in any replays of any crazy new Master Rule stuff, I would love to see it. But anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good one, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. And I'm signing out. Peace. Have a good one.